So, you say you've got about 80 to 100 American smackaroos to spend and you're looking to up your audiophile game. You're looking for the IEMs that are brain tickling, that really get your juices flowing. Well, let me tell you, it is a good time to be you because we have choices. You've got the $80 Truthear Hexa, you've got the outstanding $100 Olina SE, and finally, you have the young upstart, the scintillating Simgot EA500. All fantastic IEMs for the price, but which one is right for you? Well, when it comes to styling and build quality, they're all excellent and quite distinctive. You have the Simgot EA500 with its bright burnished metal look, all curves everywhere, and this lovely steampunk look that's coming off of the port. And then you've got the Truthear Hexa, which goes in the other direction completely. All modernity and sharp lines, complete with a nice subdued matte black finish with this translucent smoke plastic on the inside. Beautiful. And finally, you've got the Olina SE, which goes for a more cutesy look. Very nice ear-friendly design, really good all-metal build, and completed with these nice little playful turtles on either side. I think that's to do with the HBB color. Now, when it comes to nozzle diameter, well, here's how they compare, and you'll have to figure out which one's the best for you. Now, when it comes to the cable on the Simgot is more reminiscent of something on the lines of $20 to $40 than $80, which is a bit of a disappointment. The Hexa is the next best thing and what I would consider plenty adequate. It does the job, it's supple, it's easy. The Olina SE though, that's where you are made to feel a little bit more special. For that $20 premium, you get this nice, supple, slightly thicker cable that has this lovely blue-gray color and some nice little details. Really nice experience on the Olina. But all that is well and good. It doesn't matter if it doesn't sound good. Well, luckily all of these three sound amazing in their own ways. Now, the Truthear Hexa has been my reference for quite a while, ever since it came out really, because it does a few things, including today, that other IEMs simply cannot match. And that is staging, imaging, and layering. When there's complex sounds to be reproduced, when there's layers of things happening in the music or soundtrack, the Hexa really delivers. And for soundstage, it's still one of the widest in this comparison. Now, for outright resolution, the Hexa you would think would win with its number of drivers, but this comparison is a great example of how that simply does not matter. It is very good, is very resolving, but so is the Olina SE, and the Simgot EA500, some would argue, is even better. You see, the Hexa has a little more sub-bass emphasis and therefore lacks a little bit of that mid-bass thump that I know a lot of people like. And if you want that, then the Olina is a natural step up. It gives you that mid-bass thump while still delivering on those sub-bass promises that you so badly want. But this is where the Simgot EA500 sort of comes into its own. The Simgot EA500 is a little more mid-bass focused and it falls off on the sub-bass a little. It's still there, it's just not as emphasized relative to the mid-bass. But even with this massive mid-bass boost, the Simgot EA500 delivers with alacrity and detail and control that the other two simply don't match. I don't know how they did it, but it is by far the most detailed, most resolving, most authoritative bass that you'll get amongst these three IEMs. What's also interesting is that the Simgot EA500 has a very boosted lower mid region as well, which means it should come off sounding warm. But it actually doesn't. It actually comes off sounding bright, and the reason for that is basically it's got a lot of treble and upper mid presence as well. Make no mistake, the EA500 is a V-shaped IEM, but arguably a V-shaped IEM that just does it better than a lot of its compatriots. Now, the Hexa in the upper mid-range has a bit of an issue, right? It's got a scoop out in the 2 kHz region, which leads to vocals and instruments lacking a bit of body, and it's got another scoop out between sort of 3 and 5K, which leads to a lack of presence. So it seems a little less lively, a little more subdued in its sound signature. And the Olina SE sorts this out by filling out exactly those gaps and filling them out beautifully and smoothly. And it just, vocals, instruments, all of them come to life a little bit more. They sound a little more lively, they sound a little more bodied, and it's just a nicer, more comforting sound. The Simgot EA500 takes it to another level still, and I would argue overcompensates, because what happens is you now have vocals and instruments pushed a little too far forward in the mix, And you've got a bump in the 5 kHz region, which actually makes things sound a little too sharp. Like if you're listening to horn instruments, trumpets and so on, they sound a little bit jarring on the Simgot EA500 on certain tracks. Now, the track that I used for testing in this particular video is called Spoonful by Soundgarden. It's a great test track and it's just a great song as well. It's got these spoons in the background that create a rhythm section, and on the Hexa, the imaging and the staging of those spoons and all the other instruments is very, very good. The Olina is just the next best thing. It's pretty much as good as the Hexa, but everything feels a bit fuller, feels a bit richer. The Simgot EA500 though gives you the impression of more resolution because it's pushing all that upper, mid and treble forward in your face. Although if you quickly A/B test them, if you listen to all three of them, then you realize the resolution is there regardless. The Simgot EA500 seems a little more resolving, probably due to its frequency response, but it also loses on that imaging capability. It loses on the staging capability. Things don't sound as three-dimensional anymore. And that is usually a downside you'll find with heavily V-shaped IEMs. Although I have to say, in the case of the EA500, it's not that bad because what you're trading off is some of that imaging and staging for liveliness. So the question remains, which one of these is right for you? And the answer is a matter of preference, right? If you want something that is outstanding in imaging and staging specifically, then the Hexa is still the leader of the pack. If you want something that is outright V-shaped and super fun while still holding arguably the most detail even in the bass amongst these three IEMs, then the Simgot EA500 might be what you want, except you will be letting go of some of that imaging and staging, but you won't really let go of that much more. But for me, the sweet spot is the Olina SE, just for my preferences, because it's not a very V-shaped IEM, which is something that I don't personally enjoy on an everyday basis. It has a warm midsection, but it's not too warm. It still preserves a lot of detail, just like the Hexa does, and it provides you pretty much every bit the same imaging and layering the Hexa does with a single dynamic driver. This thing is so good. The Hexa is a smidge better, there's no doubt, but the Olina SE hits my preferences in the mids and the highs much better. And it's got that sub-bass emphasis if you want that low-end rumble. Doesn't quite have the resolution of the Simgot, but it's the next best thing in this comparison. Basically, $20 more gets you a sort of jack of all trades. So which one do you prefer? Do you want that staging and imaging that the Hexa gives you along with great resolution, or do you want a fun V-shaped IEM like the Simgot EA500 that is still quite well resolving, if not so precise with its imaging or three-dimensionality of sound? Or will you spend $20 more and go for the Olina SE, which in my opinion sort of rides the line between these two IEMs and delivers a warm bassy sound, but one that is rich and detailed and almost lives up to the Hexa's benchmark when it comes to spacing and imaging. The choice is yours. Of course, if your budget is a little bit lower, then you might want to check out this video on the Project Red. Or if it's lower than that, then we've got a whole bunch of $20 IEM reviews and more coming on this channel. So stay tuned. I'll see you in the next one. Stay happy, stay peaceful, stay colorful. Namaste.